Hi. Uh-oh. Oh. Hi. Everything's communication, and this communicates like whoever is behind this has something important to say. So I'm just going to move this way, and we're going to have like a conversation instead of me talking at everyone. I'm really glad that the last panel ended how it did because it is so on the nose. I'm just going to continue the conversation about education and about the influence of tech on what we're doing, and I'll start by telling you a little story. I'm getting my PhD at Duquesne University. Shout out to participants, fans, people that helped us do that. So I got my undergrad and my master's in communication and mass comm from the University of Texas at Tyler, which is where I'm from. So I'm currently getting my PhD online at Duquesne, teaching online public speaking. And at the same time, I am teaching public speaking in person at UT Tyler. And I can't help but have and see every single day the direct correlation between what these two classes are, what they're saying they are, the validity of what we say that we're teaching them, and how we can better do all that. So let's just do a little comparative. There's public speaking at Duquesne. It's online. It's an elective. Students choose to take it, like they think there will be some, like it'll be a professional benefit to their future. So they can take it if they want to, and not if they don't want to. If they're like, yeah, I don't need to talk. And then at UT Tyler, where I teach in person, it is a mandatory class, which is exciting for me because every single major is represented. Every single future trajectory is represented. They're also interesting and they're also different. So that's the first difference. The second difference between the two is people practice. At Duquesne, it is all screens. I'll just go ahead and say that the medium is the message. For online public speaking, it feels and seems and is responded to kind of like task management. Like, here's a checklist for the week. Here's the reading you do for the week. Here's the speech you make for the week. All alone. There's no like group anything except for potentially commenting on other students' comments about the reading that you both did, which we are forcing them to do online, comment to comment. And then at UT Tyler, I don't use screens at all, and I let them know that they're going to have it easy technologically for the rest of their entire lives, and I feel like I'm doing them a better service. If I set the rule of you have one piece of paper, it is an outline, you can hold it in your hand and refer to it. There will be no, it's kind of like a crutch, like I'm not prepared, but if I just put this on here and read from it verbatim, then it means that I'm giving a speech. I think if I make it harder for them in public speaking in real life, then it'll be easier for them from then on out. They'll know how to communicate with people better. And the next thing is conscious consideration. At Duquesne, it's kind of an imagined perfect audience. You guys have seen so many cats. I've seen so many bedrooms, so many like very, very casual speech givings for a grade. And then at UT Tyler, there's this unique, imperfect audience, and you have their eyes, whether you're scared or not, and you have to respond appropriately in order to make the grade. No cats, no bedrooms. And then the screen shields. At Duquesne, I call it a screen shield because at Duquesne, it's necessary. You cannot do the online class without the computer, so that is true. It is an online class. They need it to complete the class. But at UT Tyler, their computers are allowed to be used for writing outlines in class together and speech prep. But during speeches, as an audience member, you're a participant of the communication, and so you're going to put that computer down. You're not going to do another class's homework. You're going to be mindful and respectful, and you know, I'm from Texas. Treat others like you want to be treated, y'all. You catch more flies with honey. Like, just be sweet. So the audience never opens anything during the speeches, and I demand in a very friendly way that they focus and do like eye-to-eye contact. So what I did, a little more story time. What I did in person, I did it for the first time last semester, and I'm kind of refining this whole idea. I'm trying to integrate ethics. Instead of just like PowerPointing and talking at them. For example, your very first speech in a public speaking class, I assume you guys are generally familiar, and you could infer that the first speech students are asked to give is an introductory speech, which is basically like, hi, I'm Tiffany Gilliam. Everything I just said to you guys. And thank you for listening. And it's a kind of a segue, an easy in. They can talk about something they know because it's them and it's kind of an on-ramp, right? So that's the expectation. I said, hey guys, here's a piece of paper, because I'm a tactile person, so they all got a piece of paper and they all hand wrote down what their name was, so that I could see their handwriting, what their major is, 3 facts about them, and then 1 thing that might surprise people that didn't know them or that knew them. And so I said, okay, everybody have a piece of paper? And I had them bring it up to me at my little table, and they set them all down, face down, and I shoosh them all around, and I was like, okay, now everybody come draw 1. So everybody came, and they drew something, and who they drew, it couldn't be themselves, that was the person that they're giving their introductory speech about, and the person will stand right next to them, and then they'll switch. So that is a consideration, like an ethical consideration. Like you're not only representing yourself in your introductory speech, you are going to spend a class period connecting with them and talking to them and asking them questions about what they wrote down in an effort to get to know them so that when they presented them, they had legs to stand on, like they had the notoriety or the experience to be able to do that well. So that's how we started, and since then it has been this beautiful cohort and kind of like a democracy. Even when, so you have a theme, Duquesne, same kind of theme. So I have an overarching theme, like say, the example I always give is McDonald's. So my informative speech, my persuasive speech, my conflict speech is all going to be under my umbrella, and I make the students do big idea, little idea physically. I'm like, your big idea is this, and then your little idea within your big idea, so this is McDonald's. And this is my persuasive speech to convince everyone to eat at McDonald's or whatever. You know, it has to fit within your larger narrative. So as they all have their big ideas in the in-person class and in the online class, but the step up in the human way that I took in the in-person class is like, okay, now we're doing our informative speeches. Does everybody know what they're getting their informative speeches on? And then if students aren't sure, you know what they don't do? Just do something dumb or not reach out. They have a classroom discussion. Like, say Kristen wants to raise her hand and be like, okay, well, my big idea is ocelots, and I don't know what my persuasive speech is going to be on. She has the entire class to use as a resource to help her kind of brain think through what's an interesting thing. Not to mention, they're the audience, so you want to talk about something that they're interested in, right? So it's kind of like a win-win because it's important for the speaker to acknowledge the audience. I fully acknowledge coming into today that you guys, I was going to be given the opportunity to speak to a room full of people that I'm certain are smarter than me and have more experience than me, and it is such a gift to be able to like talk with you about this in this way. So like you keep in mind your audience, you talk to what they want to be speaking about, but you also inform them as the expert of what your main idea is. So that's the vibe of this entire in-person class, and I have seen it react not to like toot my own horn or whatever metaphor, but like off script, students have been like, man, I did not know that student until you forced us towards each other, and I really like that guy, and I'm so happy to know them. And I know that this student is really good at outlines, and my outlines are teeny tiny novellas in 6-point font because I don't know how to summarize my ideas. So they know who's good at what, and I encourage them to use each other. It's like a daggone cohort. So that is my experience the past 2 semesters with in-person public speaking, and it's making this online speaking all the more like there's not a world in which this can be that. And I know we've spoken to this on some of the prior discussions today, but my thought about that is there's a way to grow a student with online etiquette and stop calling it public speaking. This is a conversation of, hey, if you apply for a job and send it a video, maybe don't have your cat, and here's what a professional background looks like, and here's how to represent yourself online professionally to set yourself apart and to be successful, because everything is communication. And they don't know how great you are, Hannah, with your like bright pink room and your like inability to have the camera be on your face. So all these sort of tactical, technical tools, alliteration. That is something worth teaching students, I think. As much as I wish it weren't true, as much as I wish we could all teach them cursive and have them like read scrolls, like just like in the good old days, there is a skill set that's valuable to them, and it is communication. And as communication scholars, we should teach it to them, but we should not call it public speaking. We should call it internet etiquette or something like that, how to present yourself well online. That is kind of my argument. What do we call this online opportunity, and how can we best teach students this sort of skill set in an online environment? First of all, we shouldn't call it public speaking because it's not. It's something else. We can find the best words for it and do that really, really well, and then have our students shine as they go into this tech world of tech demands, and they can do that with excellence so that when they get the job, they can continue to be excellent in person and communicate well and be public speakers as needed. Does that make sense? Public speaking online is not public speaking, it's something else. And the more that I have these wild, extravagant, person-to-person, interpersonal successes in the in-person class, they like each other. They know each other's names. And sure, it's because I forced them to, but I'm the teacher. And I need to say, what's valuable. And there's so many classes where, they go, and even the desks communicate isolation. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, and they're so not expecting to know anyone else in that class. They're just expecting to be told what to do, talked at, so they can meet the demands and then move on with their life. But I just refuse, as a communication scholar, that just doesn't check out. That's not all we have to offer. That's not all we have to teach. So step one is being a little honest with ourselves about what online public speaking is, how we can do it better, how it can be more true, and then make the most of our in-person public speaking classes. Do not expect them to never know each other. Do not expect to not involve the entire rest of the classroom. It's also at UT Tyler, it is a mandatory class. They don't want to be there, and I make sure that they know that I know that. You guys, this is mandatory, you have to, which is different than Duquesne. It's voluntary, so it's a different student set. So for these mandatory kids, you've got to give them something to want to be there for, and more often than not, that's just recognition, individual, relational capacity, not groupthink in a bad way, but just to be a part of a cohort. You're all being expected to do the same things. They're well, will you record us because it's supposed to be 5 minutes? Will you tell us when it's 5 minutes? And again, I say, I will not. You're going to practice with each other in smaller groups, and then by the time it'll be in your head, you know how much time it is when you're talking for a few minutes. You know what that's going to be like. You know how it feels when you feel like you're going over time. And they may do it in the future, but not for now. And they're oh, well, if you're giving speeches on Tuesdays and Thursdays, can I know if I'm Tuesday or Thursday? Absolutely not. No one is going to know because everyone is going to be ready. So I'm very mean, but in a very intentional, very friendly, very fun. My favorite quote from a student was last semester. She said, Professor Gilliam, you do it different. Yeah, it's such a shame that it is doing it different to just pay attention to the other humans in the same room as you, but I'm telling you guys, that's where I'm at. And then micro thing, this isn't what I'm talking about, but in tandem with that, at UT Tyler, my whole background is art and fine arts, and my thesis and all that is about artists, and I have recorded studio art critiques at UT Tyler, and they are so unable to communicate well verbally what they created visually. So I want to create a new class called Art Com, which is art majors and communication majors, so they can teach each other how to do that well. Com majors, the stuff they know, art students don't know at all. In the context for why advertising and graphic designers make the designs they make, that prior context, art kids know it, com kids have no idea. So that's the next step. So happy to talk to anyone about any of it. And see. Thank you guys.